My name is Raj Kumar. I come from India. I represent Rainbow Christian Academy. The Rainbow Christian Academy is an organization and a fellowship of Christian professionals who tries to reach out to Christian institutions, Christian organizations, and Christian individuals with the expertise of providing help to them in organization development, in strengthening the management and individual capacities of different organizations. We do evaluation of projects and institutions. So let us talk something about change. Change is happening in us, around us, and change is inevitable. We cannot stop change happening. But the problem with the organization is that they resist change. But the organizations who resist change cannot survive for a longer period of time, because they have to change with the changing circumstances, changing situations. Now let us find out what is change. It's important for us to know what the change is, and then we can find out how we can introduce change and what are the factors that inhibit or restrict or are obstacle in the introduction of change. Change is a planned transition from present unsatisfactory situation to the future satisfactory situations. So there are important components of change. One of the important component is dissatisfaction. Another one is a transition. But the most important factor is the process. So without the process, the change, if incorporated in any organization, may also be disastrous. But when you introduce change in the organization, people resist change. But why people resist change? Because the change affects the people as individuals. They don't resist change, but they resist because they have to change themselves. That is why there is a resistance. But there are many factors that contribute to the resistance of change. Some of the factors relate to their groups, the sociological factors. When they have to change within the organization, they have already working in smaller groups. So the groups are broken with that change, and their relationships are broken, and they become uncomfortable. So there are other psychological factors also. The psychological factors relate to the fear of the unknown. They do not know when the change takes place what will be the future. So they find it very difficult to comprehend the future, and they become very uncomfortable in that situation. So they resist change. Another factor of resisting change is the cost of the change. So they have to pay the cost of the change. So the cost may be in relation to their relationship with each other, or learning new skill, or losing their job, or losing their status within the organization. So before we introduce change in any organization, it is very important for us to understand these factors, why people resist change, and then work on those factors and then introduce change. So there is one equation for change. Equation is dissatisfaction multiplied by vision and multiplied by plan. If this is higher than the cost, then change will not take place. If this is lower than the cost, then the change will take place. Therefore, before we introduce change, we need to make a force field analysis. That means we need to understand what are the forces that restrict change, and what are the forces that drive change, and what are the forces which are neutral. So when we make an analysis of these different type of forces, then we can think of introducing change in a more planned manner. If the driving forces are weak, then there should be a plan how the driving forces can be strengthened and the restraining forces can be minimized. so that there's a good equilibrium and the change can be introduced. But what is important in this whole process is the participation. There are three main styles of introducing change. One style is directive style, another one is participative style, and another one is neutral, maybe both. So the question before us is, which style for introducing change is more acceptable? So there is no positive response to this question, but the participative style, inclination towards participative style may become more acceptable because people will accept change, because people will own change, because they are involved in this whole process. But it all depends on the culture, the philosophy of the organization, of the place where we want to introduce change. It also depends on the nature of the change we want to introduce. At times there is a change in the systems and procedures. At times there is a need to change the attitude and behavior of the staff. So therefore, before we introduce any change, proper planning is required, proper assessment is required, and proper thinking and involvement of those who are affected by change is required. So with all this process, we can move ahead more positively to bring change in the institutions, bring change in the organization. Thank you.